Am I the asshole for not attending my mother's funeral after she let my stepfather abuse me and then kick me out for seducing him? Hey, before we move on to the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks. I used to think my mom was my best friend. After my dad died when I was 9, it felt like it was just the two of us against the world. We had a small, quiet life, school, work, frozen dinners, reruns of shows she liked, and I pretended to enjoy. It wasn't always easy, but I felt safe. I used to crawl into her bed when the nightmares about losing dad got too bad, and she'd wrap her arms around me and promise that everything was going to be okay. I believed her. Things started to shift when I was around 12. That's when she met Greg. Greg worked at the auto shop near our apartment complex. He was the kind of guy who walked around like he owned the pavement. Loud voice, big laugh, and always chewing on something: gum, toothpick, sunflower seeds. I didn't like him from the moment I met him. Something about the way his eyes lingered on me a little too long. I don't think I had the words for it at that age, but I remember the way my stomach turned cold every time he looked at me and smiled. My mom was smitten, though. She said Greg was strong, reliable, and good for us. As if I'd asked for him. They moved fast. Within a few months, he was sleeping over most nights. A few months after that, he moved in. I went from having quiet dinners with my mom to listening to Greg yell at the TV and bark orders like we were his employees. He didn't hit me. Not then. He didn't need to. His presence was heavy enough to crush the air in the room. If I rolled my eyes, I was being a brat. If I didn't say goodnight cheerfully enough, I was disrespectful. If I closed my bedroom door, he opened it. Always with a little too much familiarity, like he thought he owned the place and me. At first, I thought Mom didn't notice. Or that she did and didn't know what to do. I tried to talk to her, quietly, carefully. Greg makes me uncomfortable. She looked at me like I'd spoken in another language. He's just trying to be a father figure, she said. You need a man around to guide you. You're growing up. Growing up. That phrase started to haunt me. It was her excuse for everything. Greg commenting on my changing body. I was growing up. Him walking into the bathroom without knocking. I was growing up. Him watching me stretch during my dance practice. I was growing up and being too sensitive. By the time I was 14, the discomfort had solidified into fear. Greg had a way of cornering me, standing too close, brushing past me when there was plenty of space. His voice always had this undercurrent of something slick and threatening when he called me sweetheart or princess. I started keeping a chair wedged under my bedroom doorknob at night. I stopped wearing tank tops around the house. I tried to shrink myself down so maybe he'd forget I existed. He didn't. One night, he came into my room after midnight. I was awake, pretending to sleep, frozen. He didn't touch me. He just stood there for a few minutes, watching, breathing. Then he left. The next morning, I told my mom. I didn't scream or cry. I sat down across from her at the kitchen table and said, Greg came into my room last night. After midnight. He just stood there and watched me. She blinked like she hadn't heard me. Then she laughed. Are you serious right now? I nodded. You must have been dreaming, she said. I wasn't. She got quiet. I could see the wheels turning in her head, the denial folding over itself like dough. Then her face hardened. What were you wearing? That was the moment something broke. I couldn't even answer. I think I whispered pajamas or something just as useless. It didn't matter. She had made up her mind. You know, she said slowly, like choosing her words carefully, he told me you've been looking at him funny. Acting inappropriate. I didn't want to believe it. But now. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. I stared at her. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to shake her and ask how she could possibly believe that of her daughter. But all I could do was sit there, blinking back tears that I refused to let fall. That night, she packed a bag for me and left it by the door. I can't have this in my house, she said. You need help. I'm doing this for your own good. She called me disgusting. She called me manipulative. She told me I was trying to destroy her life. I slept outside that night. I was 15. I slept on a park bench near the library that night. It was late fall, and the wind had that sharp bite that cut through my hoodie and jeans like I was wearing paper. I didn't cry. I thought I would. I thought I'd break down completely, but I didn't. I just sat there staring at the dark sky, hugging my knees, wondering how things had gone so wrong so fast. By morning, I could barely feel my fingers. I walked into the library when it opened and sat in the back corner behind the computers. I didn't know where else to go. I hadn't told anyone what happened. I didn't have a cell phone or money. Just the backpack my mom had thrown together for me, which she hadn't even bothered to zip up. It had 3 shirts, a pair of socks, and one of my old stuffed animals, like she wanted to make a statement, like I was still a child playing victim. Eventually, a librarian noticed me and asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was waiting for my aunt. She gave me a granola bar and a water bottle, and for some reason, that was what finally made me cry. I went into the bathroom and locked myself in a stall and cried until I couldn't breathe. I spent a few days drifting between public places, the library, a 24-hour diner where I nursed a cup of coffee for hours, a shelter where the beds were full but they let me shower and gave me clean clothes. It was humiliating. Every second felt like I was being peeled open and exposed. I couldn't bring myself to explain what had happened. I knew how it sounded. I didn't even believe it when I said it out loud in my head. Eventually, a social worker from a teen outreach center got involved. Someone at the shelter had called them. They arranged for me to stay in a group home for girls like me, runaways, throwaways, kids no one wanted. The woman who ran it, Miss Lena, was hard as nails and soft as marshmallows under it. She didn't press me for details, just told me I was safe and that no one would be coming through the door unless I said so. I lived there for the next 2.5 years. It wasn't easy. I shared a room with 2 other girls, and the rules were strict. We had chores, curfews, mandatory counseling. But it was safe. No one watched me while I slept. No one walked into my room at night. And slowly, I started to breathe again. School was hard. I'd missed so much time that I had to repeat a year. Some of the teachers were kind. Others treated me like I was a problem to manage. I got used to being called troubled. I got used to the stares. I didn't care. I kept my head down and worked. I studied at night when the others were asleep. I volunteered at the local animal shelter on weekends. I did whatever I could to build something resembling a life. When I turned 18, I aged out of the system. Miss Lena helped me find a transitional housing program that offered a tiny studio apartment and covered partial tuition at the local community college. I took classes in the evenings and worked during the day, first as a barista, then as a front desk assistant at a dentist's office. There were times I wanted to quit. Times when the past sat on my chest and refused to move. I had panic attacks at the sound of certain voices. I couldn't handle being touched. I didn't date. I didn't trust anyone. But I kept going, one day at a time. I graduated from community college at 21. That felt like a miracle. Miss Lena came to the ceremony. She brought me flowers and called me her little lion. I didn't even realize I'd started crying until she hugged me and whispered, "You made it." After that, I transferred to a university in a different state, far away from everything and everyone. I studied social work. I wanted to help girls like me, girls who had been thrown away and blamed for the sins of men who were never held accountable. I interned at a women's shelter, then landed a job as a case manager after graduation. I never heard from my mother. Not once. For years, I checked my email every so often, wondering if maybe she would reach out, say she was sorry, say she'd made a mistake. But nothing ever came. Sometimes I thought about writing to her, not to reconcile, just to make her hear it, to make her face what she did. But I didn't. I couldn't give her that piece of me. Not anymore. I built a life. I made friends. I found peace in routine. I started therapy, real therapy, with someone who didn't try to fix me but helped me fix myself. And eventually, I stopped flinching at the sound of heavy footsteps. I stopped double-checking the locks on my door 3 times before bed. I started living. Then, one day, I got a message from my cousin. It was short. No greeting. Just, "Hey, I don't know if you heard. Your mom passed away last week. Funeral is Saturday." I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because I was shocked, but because I felt nothing. No sadness. No anger. Just a cold sort of emptiness. Like reading a news article about a stranger. That was when I realized she was already dead to me. Had been for years. I didn't reply to my cousin's message. I didn't ask how my mother died. I didn't ask where she was buried. I didn't ask who showed up. I didn't want to know. She was already a ghost in my life. A name I hadn't spoken aloud in over a decade. I didn't go to the funeral. I thought that would be the end of it. But of course, it wasn't. 2 days after the funeral, I got a Facebook message from my aunt, my mother's older sister, Janice. I hadn't heard from her since I was a kid. I didn't even know we were still connected on social media. The message was short, but it hit like a slap. Your mother died heartbroken. She waited years for you to come to your senses. And you didn't even bother to show up and pay your respects. I hope you're proud of yourself. I stared at the message for a long time. My hands were shaking. I didn't know if it was anger or adrenaline or something else. I closed the app and turned off my phone. But the messages kept coming. First from Janice. Then from a few cousins I barely remembered, people I hadn't spoken to since I was 14, suddenly coming out of the woodwork to guilt trip me for not attending the funeral of the woman who threw me out like garbage. She always talked about you. She loved you so much. You broke her heart. She forgave you, even if you never asked. I hope one day someone treats you the way you treated her. Then maybe you'll understand. One of them posted a photo of my mother and me when I was maybe 7. We were sitting on a picnic blanket. She had her arm around me. I was smiling. The caption said, she only wanted her daughter back. I wanted to scream, to reply to every comment and message with the truth, to drag it all into the light, what Greg did to me, what she let happen, how she turned on me like I was filth and threw me into the street without a second thought. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I did what I had done for years. I compartmentalized. I got up the next morning. I went to work. I helped a teenage girl fill out paperwork for housing. I called the food bank about deliveries. I smiled when I had to, but underneath it, something was burning. The final straw came a few days later. I got a letter in the mail. A real letter. No return address. Just my name on the envelope in tight, neat handwriting I recognized immediately. My mother's. I opened it. Dear Callie, if you're reading this, I've already passed. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to make things right. I never stopped loving you. I never stopped thinking about you. I know you were angry, but you have to understand how hard it was for me. I was alone. I didn't know who to believe. Greg said, well, it doesn't matter now. I just wanted to protect my family. I hope one day you can forgive me. I always thought you'd come back. I kept your room the same for a long time. I waited. Love always, Mom. It felt like being punched in the gut. She knew. She admitted it, quietly, cowardly, but she knew. She never once apologized directly. Never said, I believe the man who hurt you. Never said, I was wrong. Just vague words about not knowing who to believe, as if the truth had been hidden behind smoke instead of standing in front of her crying and begging to be heard. She wanted forgiveness without doing any of the work. She wanted peace without facing what she'd done. I sat with that letter for a long time. I read it over and over. I tried to find even one sentence that felt sincere. I couldn't. That night, I wrote my own letter. But mine wasn't private. I posted it on Facebook, the same platform where my cousins and aunt had dragged my name through the mud. To everyone who's messaged me about my mother's funeral, you're right. I didn't go. I didn't go because when I was 14, I told my mother that her husband, Greg, was creeping into my room at night, watching me sleep, and making comments about my body. She called me disgusting. She accused me of trying to seduce him. She said I was trying to ruin her life. Then she packed a bag and left it by the door. I was a child. I slept on a bench that night. I was homeless for weeks before landing in a group home. I rebuilt my life without her, without any of you. So no, I didn't go to her funeral. She buried our relationship a long time ago, when she chose a predator over her daughter. Don't message me again. Callie, I turned off my notifications. For 2 days, I didn't check my phone or my email. When I finally did, the comment section was a war zone. Some were horrified. Some apologized. Some tried to spin it. She did the best she could. A few doubled down, called me a liar, said I was making it up for attention. Said, why bring this up now, when she can't defend herself? I blocked every single one of them. But something inside me was calm. For the first time, I didn't feel like a scared little girl who had to keep her story quiet to avoid upsetting people. I told the truth. Out loud. Without shame. And if that made them uncomfortable, good. After I made that post, something in me shifted. I'd spent so many years keeping my head down, working, surviving, trying not to stir the water. That post was the first time I'd ever said it all out loud. Not in therapy, not in private, but publicly, with no apologies, no edits, no smoothing the edges to make it easier for others to hear. It was brutal, but it was mine. A few days later, I got an email from Janice. I almost deleted it without reading it, but something told me to look. Callie, I read what you wrote. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say. I wish I had asked questions back then. I wish I had been there. I believed your mother because she was my sister. I didn't want to believe she could do something like that. I understand if you don't want to talk to me again, but I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. And I believe you. I didn't respond. Not right away. I needed time. I wasn't sure if I'd ever respond. She didn't deserve forgiveness just because she finally opened her eyes. But I also didn't feel the same white-hot rage toward her anymore. Just tiredness. A few weeks passed. The storm died down. People stopped talking. Most of the relatives who attacked me never reached out again. Fine. I didn't need them. One morning, I woke up and realized I hadn't thought about my mother in days. Not her face. Not her words. Not her betrayal. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty about it. I kept working. I helped more girls find their footing. Some of them reminded me of myself, small, scared, lost. I didn't tell them my full story, but I let them see enough of it to know I understood. That I wasn't just another well-meaning stranger trying to fix them. I had been in the mud too. I'd clawed my way out. Sometimes, I still had nightmares. Not about Greg, he was just a shadow now, but about my mother. About her voice, her cold eyes, the weight of her silence. I'd wake up sweating, tangled in my sheets, heart pounding. But I knew they were just dreams. She couldn't hurt me anymore. I lived in a different state, a different world. One day, I came home from work and found a small envelope in my mailbox. No return address again. Just my name, written in that same neat handwriting. It made my stomach turn. Inside was a photo. Me, age 7 again, on that same picnic blanket. Mom behind me, her arms around me. The same photo my cousin had posted. But someone had written something on the back in ink. She loved you. That was it. No signature. No explanation. Just those words. I stood in my apartment, holding the photo, and felt absolutely nothing. I slid it into the trash. That weekend, I booked a trip. Just a few days off. A cabin near a lake I'd always wanted to visit, quiet and secluded. I packed a bag, left my phone behind, and spent 3 full days in silence. Reading, hiking, sitting by the water and letting the sun warm my skin. I watched the reflection of the trees ripple on the surface. I breathed. On the last night, I wrote in my journal. She loved me, maybe, but she didn't protect me. And I will never pretend those two things are the same again. When I got home, I donated the last of my childhood things I'd kept boxed in a closet. A few old clothes, school notebooks, even the stuffed animal my mom had packed in my bag that night she threw me out. It was over. I built a life she wasn't part of. I gave myself the love she never did. I saved myself. And that is something no one can take from me. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button.